Africa's wealthiest man, Aliko Dangote, said he is willing to give up ownership of his multi-billion-dollar oil refinery to the state-owned energy company, NNPC Limited. The 650-barrel-per-day refinery, which came to life last year after a decade of prolonged construction, cost $19 billion, more than double the initial estimate, promising to help wean Africa's biggest oil producer off its reliance on fuel from overseas and save up to 30% of the total foreign exchange spent on importing goods. Dangote, apparently frustrated with the turn of events, said, and I quote, "Let them, NNPC, buy me out and run the refinery the best way they can. They have labeled me a monopolist. That is an incorrect and unfair allegation, but it's okay. If they buy me out, at least their so-called monopolist will be out of the way," end of quote. On the other side, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency alleged that the Dangote refinery is producing inferior products compared to imported ones. Farouk Ahmed, who is the Chief Executive Officer of NMDPRA, alleged that the quality of diesel produced by the refinery was 665 ppm, which is considered inferior, warning therefore that Nigeria may not rely heavily on the Dangote refinery for its fuel supply. He also said that the refinery has not been licensed to begin operations in the country. Ahmed made this known while speaking with journalists at the State House, Abuja, on Thursday. And joining us to discuss the issues are Yabagi Sani, an engineer as well as energy and oil expert. He had worked as an administrative officer with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, in the 80s. He's also the national chairman of Action Democratic Party, ADP. We also have in the studio Iliyasu Gadu, a former senior public affairs officer of the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNG. He's also a columnist and public affairs commentator who equally had a stint in the Foreign Service. Gentlemen, welcome to our studios and thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
But before we commence the discussion, here are some tidbits. The House of Representatives Joint Committee on Midstream and Downstream investigating alleged domestic production of substandard petroleum products, non-availability of crude oil to domestic refineries and other related matters has promised to carry out a thorough investigation by inviting all stakeholders to get to the root of the burning issue. Chairman of the Joint Committee, Rep. Ikenga Imo Oguchinyere, stated this at the opening of the investigation on Monday in Abuja. He recalled that the House had at the plenary on July 9, 2024, adopted a motion on urgent need to carry out a legislative forensic investigation into the challenges affecting the downstream and midstream petroleum sectors in Nigeria and other related matters to find out a lasting solution to all the challenges. And elsewhere, the declaration of an indefinite strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities of Abuja chapter has stirred controversy among the union members. The chairperson of the branch, Silvanus Ugo, announced that ASU members are embarking on a total, comprehensive and indefinite strike starting from Thursday. He said the decision to embark on the strike was decided by the union on Thursday. And we'll take a short break. When we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. Once again, gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Maybe I should start with you since you are the first on the right-hand side. Is this the right time to start talking about the Dangote refinery, not licensed, not ready for production, and it has inferior quality products?
Well, you know, it goes to underscore one of the most important factor that has led to this country being held back in terms of making the progress that we're supposed to make as a nation, blessed with such huge resources, you know, of petroleum and others. It's to tell you that people you have at the health affairs, I'm talking about those managing the sectors, are only doing it for themselves, their personal interest. They are not there for the interest of Nigerians. And it beats one's imagination that this government, in particular, has done nothing to really take on the most important sector of the economy, which is the oil and gas sector. I have not heard yet what the administration has done as to probe into the activities of this
something
sector.
unique.
Something unique. So what is coming out today is people that are arrogant, that do not care about what Nigerians, or what is the future of this country. Otherwise, how do you even imagine an individual that spent his hard-earned money, $20 billion, investment in this country? I want them to show me one foreign investor that has come to this climb. As far back as I think about almost 5 or so years when Buhari came to power, about $75 billion came to Africa, invested in the oil and gas sector. Only $3 billion came to Nigeria.
That huge sum came to Africa.
Yes.
Meaning they went to Angola. And
yes, in other places. So now you have an individual, your indigene, that has the interests of the country and the people, and put out such a huge sum of money. How can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine a chief executive of an organization that should be happy, now to come?
Ahmed,
Farouk.
Yes.
Ahmed. How can you come to demarcate yourself, your country, and in such a manner that it has not been licensed, that the quality of the product coming out is bad? I mean, in the same country, that person should not be allowed to stay in that office 1 minute, after that sentence.
I can see, Iliyasu, you are all from the oil and gas sector.
You see, let me land. You tell the truth.
Okay.
But for a purpose.
Okay.
So what is the purpose of coming out to say, that the Dangote's refinery is not at par with the international best practice? I mean, the product coming out of that, when you yourself, you destroyed 4 of the national refineries that was built by the Commonwealth, for ages, and you are spending almost 12 trillion naira, in the turnaround maintenance on those 4 refineries, and none of them had been working. And every now and then you come and tell Nigerians that, by next, that I remember Mele Kele was last in March, told Nigerians that, in 2 weeks' time the refinery will be working. What we told you in December was that it was mechanically, ready. Now we have the crude in the facilities, and this particularly right as we speak today, that particular refinery is not working.
Okay, we'll come to that, but I can see Iliyasu is getting agitated. I want to repeat the question. Is this the right time to start asking about licensing a refinery, and then what is being produced is inferior?
I want to join my colleague here, my senior colleague here, to say that it's unfortunate coming from Farouk Ahmed, because this is not the right time to talk about this. This should have been talked about before the commencement of operation. But be that as it may, we have to look at the root cause of this.
Okay.
Now, Dangote may be the king of commodities, selling cement and commodities, but selling oil is a different ball game. And why I said that is because the economics and politics of oil are very, very complex. You may even get the economics right, but if you don't get the politics right, then you are sunk, you are in trouble. And if he had gone around to do some very thorough feasibility studies, he would have addressed 4 critical questions.
Okay.
One of them was, the licensing for refineries was done during Obasanjo regime. Why is it that only 1 or 2 people have taken up that offer to build a refinery? Secondly, he should have asked himself, why is it that the federal government has 4 refineries, as my senior colleague has said, and still those refineries are not working? And then the third is, why is it that the IOCs, who are in joint venture with the NNPC, are not involved in his venture? So then the fourth question is, did he get the federal government right? You could get waivers for commodities, but getting waivers for oil, refining oil, distributing it, is another ballgame. Because the oil and gas industry around the world is very, very intricate. You must have all these factors on ground before you begin to start even thinking about building the refinery and even distributing the product from that refinery. Apparently, the feasibility studies he did were actually not thorough enough, or were based on, assumptions, which has now come to haunt him. Because at the end of the day, the first question you have to ask yourself is, before you build that refinery, where will you get the crude to refine?
Nigeria has more than enough.
Yeah, but you need pipelines, because where he is there, where he's situated the refinery, there was no, it's not a crude oil producing area. You have to pipe the line.
It's much closer to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
He can have more access
to the export.
Yes.
But you need to have the crude from the oil fields in Nigeria, which is more or less in the Niger Delta or thereabouts. You need to build dedicated pipelines to the plant, and then get the crude in there so that you can refine them either for domestic use or for export. That, I think, was not factored in. And of course, the reliability or the reliance on NNPC to provide you with the crude was not even concretized. So these are the factors that, yes, that he perhaps did not put together. And then, of course, as he has done now, he has put all his money in that basket. Now it's the time for him to now, for the people who don't want him to do that. Because yes, there's an oil cabal in Nigeria that don't want, Dangote to have that refinery working, because they too are interested. They also got the license for building refineries, but they didn't. They prefer to build, to import oil into the country and make a lot of gains out of it, rather than putting the refineries. So those guys, and then of course the international oil cartel, they have the entire value chain of the oil and gas industry, and if you do not have them behind you, you're not going to make it.
All right, Engineer, you want to add something to what he said?
Yes, my brother here has made very important points.
Yes.
Especially the issue of the pipelines from where the production
the south
is, and then
yes,
where the refinery is. Yes, that's one thing. But you see, this is something that has to do with the survival of this country, because energy is at the bottom of efficiency of any economy at all, not only our developing economy. So, and we know from time immemorial now, the kind of problems, social, political, economic problems that we have been having with the supply of PMS in particular, and diesel. Now, if you have an individual that has come up to now solve this problem, is it not in the same country where you have serious, focused governments, is it not the solution of the government to now, solve most of these problems that he has mentioned? Because these problems are human problems.
Yes.
Why do you have a government? You have a government because government is there to protect their own. If at all the government is government of this, of the people. Especially when you have a democratically elected government.
You are saying like the present administration has abandoned.
Exactly. The issue of cabals, the issue of, like he says, the issue of people who are importing generators into this country, the issue of those who destroyed, willfully, deliberately our refineries, the issue of those who are benefiting from importing the fuel which Nigerians are using, the interest of those, who imported even the foul fuel that they said the Dangote refinery in March 2022. We remember, all the vehicles in this country, were almost damaged. The economy lost billions of naira. Government itself had to come out to say they have spent billions to now sanitize the foul fuel that they brought in. Where was the midstream and downstream regulatory agency? Why didn't they test those products? Is it because they were the one that imported them? That's why Nigerians can suffer and nobody will say anything. Is it now that they know that we need clean, fuel in this country? So the issue is about the government, believe you me. It's not about, yes, you will have, there's no country you don't have mafia. You don't have these people that you are talking about. But the government protect, certain industries against the machination of this
our viewers would like to figure one thing out from what you are saying. Of course, you are a serious opposition figure. You even contested for the presidency under your party. Now, this issue of government protecting the interests.
Yes.
Are you talking about this based on you being an opposition person or based on your experience in the oil and gas sector?
No, I'm talking about my experience in the oil and gas sector and also the importance of this sector to the economy. You know, it's such an important sector that government would have done what Dangote is trying to do for the economy, because it touches on the survival of the government itself. You know, because if you are not able to supply fuel to the motorists in this country for a time, they will start, getting angry.
All right, Iliyasu, why do you think government
it has nothing to do with opposition?
Because the shocker, the greatest shocker for Nigerians was when, Farouk Ahmed, spoke about this inferior thing, because he represents the monitor, because the midstream is actually the regulator. It's supposed to even regulate NNPC, among other oil magnates and all that. If this statement is coming from him, it rings a bell. And he spoke after coming out from the villa. So some pointing accusing finger at the presidency. Maybe it is the government of Nigeria that is actually leading the cartel against Dangote Refinery.
No, I think let us separate the issues.
Okay.
I did earlier on talk about the politics of oil, because that's very critical. You could have the economics, all the financing, everything ready, but if you do not have the politics, that's the government behind you, then you are sunk. And I'll give you an example where I worked in LNG.
Yes.
For 30 years, the NLNG project had been in gestation. So many, arrangements were done and it didn't get off. And so many partners came, arrangements, feasibility studies were done, this and that and that and that. At the end of the day, they didn't come up. It only came up when General Abacha, God bless his soul, you may say anything about General Abacha, but on the LNG project, he was spot on. And what did he do? Now he said, look, it's time to get this thing off the ground. We cannot continue to have it.
As head of state then?
Yes, he now said, okay, he met with the principal partners, the JV, companies, Shell, Ajib, and Total, and said, okay, what do you want out of this? They said, we want this amount of money, $600 million. He brought it down and said, where do you want it kept? Escrow account. He brought it. And then they said, we are not even satisfied. Give us some guarantees. So he said, okay, how do you want it? We want it in a decree, LNG decree. At the time, it was LNG decree. So they were giving what they call the pioneer status, because that was the first project we had in the LNG business. And they were giving import duty exemptions for 10 years. And they're also giving what is called import duty exemption for imports, construction materials into the project. And then they were also giving what is called tax exemption for 10 years. Now, that itself is the politics of it. You have now taken care of the politics. And as a result of that, and then they also said, because the Nigerian government wanted to take 60% of the project, they said, no, we want to get 50% of the project. And so NNPC had to reduce, or the government had to reduce its stake to 49%. And then the rest, 51%, was given to the IOCs. That is Shell, Total, and Ajib. And then they spread it between Shell having 25%, Total has 15%, and Ajib or Eni has the remainder. And even at that, they insisted that Shell, which has 25%, will have the technical management of the company. So at every given point, you could see that, and then the government granted them, because then all the machinations, all the, hurdles that would, prevent NLNG from taking off, they had granted it. So at this point, there was no point in them going any further. But in the case of Dangote, let's face it, he insisted on having the majority shares of the company. Of course, it's his project. But then, if you insist on having the majority shares, that means the other people who want to get involved may
like
not.
Who and who now in this case?
For instance, the IOCs, because they will be the ones, they are in the JV, joint venture with NNPC. They are involved in producing the oil on behalf on the JVC side. They would have come in as providing the source of the crude, because most of the production taking place is done on JV, joint venture arrangement with NNPC and some of these companies. Now, that would have taken care of the whole thing in terms of supply of crude oil and pipelines to the plant, but that wasn't done. And again, in terms of a lot of the companies entities who would have been interested in Dangote, we are now scared that one man would have majority of the shares and monopoly. So they now stayed away and said, okay, let's see how he's going to do it. And in any case, if he didn't divest some of this, they wouldn't be interested in it. And then, of course, you have such a huge plant that is the 6th largest in the world, and you still could not arrange how the monopoly or how it could be spread. No single international oil company was involved
in the project.
In the project.
So that must have been an error on the side of Dangote.
No.
Okay,
it's like he has contrary opinion. Yes.
No.
But you got what he said. Assuming he divested the issue properly, bringing the IOCs, bringing government fully, and other interested individuals to have collaboration, it will have been a successful.
No. There's a conspiracy against the people of this country.
Against the people
of this country, yes, by the government and people operating in NNPC, they're operating the oil and gas sector and IOCs, like you said, because you see, if there wasn't conspiracy against the interests of the people of this country, because they believe and they know we have had the IOCs for how long now? Since its inception.
65 years.
Okay.
Since 1959.
Why didn't those IOCs invest in Port Harcourt Refinery or Wadi Refinery or Kaduna Refinery? Why can't they go there and invest and say, oh, government, you're not able to run this. Let me come and then help you, because it's our specialty. In fact, in some countries, what they do, they have a policy of sweet and sour. You want me to sell crude oil to you, 100,000 barrels, for instance, then you must refine 20% of the crude oil locally. After refining, you can sell it wherever you want to sell it.
But you have to do it locally.
But you have to do it locally.
Because maybe the residual will be
but we didn't do that. We are so irresponsible as a people and as a government. We didn't do that. And if these IOCs mean well, and they never mean well, like they're here for profit. They would have, like I said, I'll repeat myself, they would have taken out of these 4 refineries and invest their money.
Refining Port Harcourt.
Exactly.
1 and 2, Wari, and then Kaduna.
And Kaduna. But they didn't do that. Why didn't they do that? They do that because it pays them more to sell the crude oil to their own clients elsewhere. And it pays them more to even take our own crude oil outside this country, refine it in their countries, bring what you call dirty, the less quality fuel. That's what they brought back. They always bring back to this country. The clean one, they don't bring it here. They sell it in their countries. Now, Dangote has come to stop all that. And he has come to stop the NNPC people from burning the candle from the two ends. They are stealing our crude oil in the first place. They are also, making commission from the importation which they are making of the petroleum products. So I'm surprised. I will repeat myself again. Bola Ahmed Tinubu should step up to the plate and solve this problem, because this is a disservice. The greatest disservice you can do to this country is to make this project to die. You are also chasing away, investors that really, serious investors that want to invest in this country. If your national will invest this kind of money and you'll be toying with this, the fate of the investment on the altar of politics, what kind of people do you have in the country?
What kind of people do you have in the country?
Well,
that cannot protect
I talk about
Dangote at this trying moment, because the edifice is there. If you go to Lagos, it is there.
I mean,
it has been established. The facilities are there. Now, why do you think government is really reluctant to come out? Because we've been expecting voices from, the presidency, the NNPC to say, look, this is the way to go. But up till now, nothing.
My senior colleague and myself earlier on have said it, that the oil and gas business worldwide is a cutthroat business. And in Nigeria, even more so, because it's based on an incestuous relationship. The people that in this country, the people that control or provide the regulation for the oil and gas to function are the same people who are involved in it.
Exactly.
They are in cohort with the IOCs.
Exactly.
In whatever way. Now, I said there is a cabal that is interested.
And he also said it, that the mafia in the oil is worse than the mafia
that is
in
why
the
I said
drug sector.
If he had done his feasibility, he would have...
But who will help him? If at this moment, government is silent, he has brought the
That's why I said earlier on here, I said there is an incestuous relationship, which is very, very diabolical. And the reason is this. there are people in government who are in cahoots with the oil importers, people who would not want oil, who would not stop the importation of oil. Dangote, went into a greenfield project. When I say greenfield, it's a project that has not been, well, we've had refinery, yes,
but not at this level.
At this level. So he went into this and said, okay, let him go ahead. Let's see how he can stop. Because some of the people in this government, I don't want to name names.
Please do. Let's call them out. Because Nigerians are disturbed.
No. If you look at Owando,
yes,
Owando. I don't want to go beyond that. If you look at Sahara, for instance,
energy,
and a whole lot of them, they are neck deep in the importation business, and they would not want Dangote to get into this business because he took a risk, and apparently the government, for one reason or the other, does not want to support him in this venture, and they are in cahoots with the cabal, local cabal, and the international cartel. So it is, well, and then don't forget, if Dangote succeeds, the Nigerian market will be captive, and most likely he may even extend into the West African market.
He has started doing that already.
Yeah,
but he said that this dirty thing they are claiming, his oil is already in Europe. Yeah. It's in other parts of the country. It's in Benin. He mentioned it.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. So this is what the local cabals and the international oil companies do not want. And in case, and I told you too, the value chain, the value chain of the international oil gas is controlled by the IOCs through their local subsidiaries and local cohorts. So at the end of the day, Dangote ventured out as a lone ranger, and he has now, they are trying to find a way to cut him to size, because if he succeeds, that will be the beginning of the domestication of the oil and gas industries. They will prefer in Nigeria, and they will prefer that we should have non-functional refineries. We should have dodgy turnaround maintenance that has this
so much.
All right. Now, when you mentioned the issue of dodgy turnaround maintenance, we did an exclusive report in Daily Trust. This was in 2022, May precisely, and our investigation uncovered that 12 trillion naira was spent on subsidy and then refineries in 7 years, which was between 2015 and 2022. I'm sure they will display the figures on the screen for us to have a look. You can see in 2015, for FG budget 7.9 trillion for oil subsidy since 2015. We have a 653 billion in 2015. No record for 2016. And in 2017, it was 144 billion. 2018, 730 billion. 2019, 350 billion. 2020, 450 billion. 2021, 1.57 trillion. 2022, 396. Our summation was that these monies that we have spent in 7 years was more than enough to build the refinery the size of the Dangotes, because Dangote spent 7.89 trillion, which is 19 billion, now 20 billion because of the other things that came up later, to build his refinery. But Nigeria spent this sum, more than this sum, to actually turn around that we are yet to see in Port Harcourt. So I want you to comment on this.
There's nothing like turn around. What they do is that
turn to pockets.
Exactly. It's a way by which the officials of NNPC and people in government steal our common wealth.
12 trillion.
Yes,
engineer.
But
in 7 years, we don't know what happened.
And you are still counting. And you are still counting because none of those refineries is working today. So all these things we are talking about. So that's why they are so angry with Dangote. That how can you come and stop this business that we have been in for ages and nobody has said anything to us? So you want to come and stop us?
Okay, you want to say, but I want to repeat.
I want to correct my brother here, my colleague here.
Okay.
You see, Dangote has spent almost 15 years, on this project that we are talking about. You remember he wanted to take over. There's this blue company that wanted to take over.
If you go back to Eraduas,
exactly. He wanted to take Kaduna Refinery and all this. So it is not something that was done out of
the blues.
Yeah, the blues.
So it wasn't a greenfield for him.
No. Conscientiously, it was done. And the only thing, you see, there can never be any perfect, feasibility study that you can do for a country like Nigeria. Because this is not a system. It's individuals who are just there to steal. You know, they are not there for the interest of this country. You are coming with a proposal or with a feasibility study that is taking, you know, into account how can I, you know, progress my business so that it will impact the people positively and I will make profit. That is not. They are not there for profit. They are there for stealing. A thief does not need any feasibility study. In Nigeria today, whether we want to believe it or not, we have thieves in charge of our resources. You know, managing our resources. We know how much we are losing from the crude oil, you know, sector of the economy. NIT gives out a report every year in, year out. Yeah. Billions of dollars, the report that has been stolen. What has been done about it? Nothing. You know, we know how much we've been spending on the so-called fuel subsidy, which is still going on today. You know, who has been taken to court or taken to any National Assembly that is now telling you they're going to I give them 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It will be quiet. Nothing will happen.
Okay, I want you to come in, but I'm repeating. Nigeria spent 12 trillion naira to turn around the 4 or 3 refineries. But Dangote spent just half of that, you know, because 7 trillion to put in place his refinery, which is the largest single train refinery in the world. Now, who do we blame?
Now, let me, as I said again, and I keep saying it, the whole thing revolves around the politics of the whole thing. Now, if you check in detail, the turnaround maintenance, the people granted this to do are people who have nothing to do with oil and gas business. They don't have any expertise. Yeah, a lot of them, like the one in Kaduna, it's a business. The turnaround maintenance that was given contract that was given to turn around Kaduna Refinery was given to somebody who does not have anything to do. He's just a front for people who are in government.
These are serious allegations. I hope we get them to the program to also defend themselves.
In fact, yes. Okay, for instance, Emeka Ofo was one of the people given the contract to do the turnaround maintenance. And some other people, they don't know jack about turnaround maintenance. All they get is, look, go in there, get this contract, and then slice it up. And then we get what and move on. That is what's happening. And if the government was serious about turnaround maintenance, they could go and meet the people who constructed those things, directly, like Chiyoda in Kaduna, because they built that plant. And said, look, we would want you to come back and look at this thing and help us to turn it around, to do all the, technical issues there, and then get it running. The same thing with us, but at the same, when you give it to Emeka or somebody like that, at the end of the day, and some other people, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that he is going to go around and get some people to do it, and at the end of the day, we don't get value for that turnaround, and that's what's been happening. And NNPC, as my senior colleague said, is the nexus of all of this happening. It is where the cabal, in fact, decides who even gets what, who gets to be appointed into what position, right up to the very, very important positions that had to do with oil production, oil refining, and all that. So at the end of the day, it's like a wink and a nod. You wink and say, okay, we are getting you there. Whatever comes that affects our interest, please block it. And that's what's happening with the Dangote Refinery.
Can we say now the issue of Dangote Refinery is a fight between Dangote Nigerians on one hand and then the cabal on the other hand?
Truly, yeah. Clearly it is.
Then who will be the referee? Who will save over 230 million Nigerians, including Dangote, from the hand of the cabal? How can he do it now?
I mean, he appoints them. He appoints the people who are doing all this nonsense. Who appoints Ahmed Farouk? Who appoints Melekeri? Everybody there is he can fire, he can hire.
He can do that today.
Certainly, today he can fire anybody.
Are you saying that if he wants Dangote Refinery to function properly, he can take action
within the next?
But I just gave you the example of NLNG.
Abacha. But yes, Abacha was a dictator.
Don't look.
Do you think Tinubu? I'm coming now. Do you think Tinubu can call out IOCs despite all the so-called forward engagement that they have with the federal government? Is there any way he can take a portion of that and give Dangote?
Abacha did it. The GVs, the IOCs have been with us for years, decades.
No.
They have been part of the oil industry in Nigeria. They know the beginning and the end of oil industry in Nigeria. They are in JV partnership with NNPC. So it's not a new thing for them. Yeah. What it requires is for the president and whoever is government at any given time to say, look, hey guys, because it happened in other parts of the world.
Okay.
In Malaysia it happened, in Brunei it happened, in Qatar it happened. There is a very standard operating procedure between the governments and countries and the IOCs, and they don't mess around, because if they do, there are lots of people who will come in.
Why is the president reluctant to actually intervene?
No, you see, in fairness,
even hear about
in fairness to Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
yes,
the previous government had mortgaged almost 70% of the crude oil that is yet to come out of the ground. Either on money for oil. I know of about $3.3 billion that was the African Exim Bank that was already allocated to them. So, and then again, in addition to what I've just told you about the fact of mortgage, is that the IOCs,
international oil companies,
yes, the way we sell oil to them, is worse than what was happening in Nigeria before you had the takeover of the government in Nigeria.
By the military.
By the military. Because what is happening is that what we do is that apart from the 40% which they take in terms of the equity which they have, and the government takes 60% or some other percentage, we don't know, and they are not in any they are not liable to tell you where they are taking your crude oil to, because we sell on FOB. FOB means bring your vessel, we'll pump it and then take it to wherever you want to take it to. Which is irresponsible. I interviewed
you some years
Which is back. Irresponsible. Even this chap, this Leonard Silk on Arise, I think he was interviewed, said something like that. That the way we sell our crude oil, is the most irresponsible way to sell crude oil. Saudi Arabia, you will go there, you see, and then to add insult to injury is that these IOCs, they are the ones also operating the terminals.
So you don't know the volume. If they
government
only give you estimate,
whatever they want to give you.
If they take maybe 1 million liters, they can say 350.
Exactly.
And they cook the books for the operations.
Because you don't have meters, where you should have meters.
That is what I wanted to say. Like 2 years ago when I interviewed you here, he said Nigeria does not have meters up till now.
Up till now.
To know the quantity being extracted from underground.
Exactly. And then even when they are pumping to the vessel, what is your, the whole thing is in their hands. They tell you what they want you to know, because they are the ones operating those terminals where you are exporting your crude oil out of. They manage everything. Nigeria, that's why I'm telling you that we are under neocolonialism. As far as the oil sector is concerned, it's just like what you have in the uranium in Nigeria. I'm trying to find the difference between the two. I cannot find yet. They go and sell it and give us whatever they want to give us, pittance.
Iliyasu, why is it difficult for Nigeria? After the first discovery, 1959, if you put the figures together, it's around 65 years, right?
Yeah.
Oil discovery in Nigeria.
Yes.
Why are we still here? Talking about how to even count or calculate the figures, talking about how to refine it. Why are we here?
We're here because it's a Nigerian thing. Nobody wants a good thing to happen in this country, because we feel that, the person that tries to be patriotic, that tries to get things done in the right way, or at least in a manner that we can benefit, is a sucker. So we need somebody who just collude. It has become a very Nigerian thing.
Yeah.
And we are getting behind because other countries have learned to, do the right thing. Even if there are corruption, there are things like that. Other countries are, look, we have to make sure that when we get this far, we stop. Because at the end of the day, it's our generation. But here in Nigeria, in fact, the worst, Dangote is now finding out that he made a mistake in actually investing that.
That is the question I wanted to ask, because the latest post, that a friend of his is touting him for investing. He said his friend told him that, look, go and find Sani client and invest your money. But he said, no, bring what you have. He was telling his friend, bring it back home so that posterity will judge you right. He said, now the friend is he has made him a laughing stock.
Yeah, but that's the truth, because at the end of the day, we are our own greatest enemies.
Exactly.
Because the IOCs in other climes are subjected to rigorous. Yes, they have all the powers, they have all the, they are very smart in what they're doing, but in some countries, the IOCs are subjected to rigorous. Yeah. What the government can see, it regulates. Yeah. What it doesn't see, it tries to go into and find out. And that's the way to go. At the end of the day, they are working for us, not for them, because they get paid for what they. I mean, the JVCs with the NNPC,
the church
virtually they get paid. In fact, they get much more than what they get, because there's also something called cash calls. They get a lot of money from cash calls. Some of these are not even audited. But at the end of the day, if we want to make sure that our own oil industry works for us, we must put a little bit of patriotism and do a little bit of introspection. Otherwise, initiatives like Dangote's, nobody will go into it, because at the end of the day, look, I'm out on a limb now. Yeah. Nobody is coming to my aid, and people are looking at me and laughing at me, and they're undercutting me. So at the end of the day, nobody wants to do it.
And he's already crying. I don't know. You're a politician. You contested in the last election under ADP. Yeah. Some people are alleging that Dangote did not support the ruling party, APC, and they are now paying him in his own coin. Could that be true?
Well, it may not be true, but it's coming out to look like that. And again, flip the coin now. I mean, look at what is happening. Like a country like China, China will perhaps give Dangote maybe half of what he has invested. They will have protected him, because they know that what he's doing is to help the economy grow, the GDP of this of our economy to grow. Which is what government has failed to do, because what is the oil and gas sector contributing today? It's less than 7% to the GDP. With what Dangote is doing, we're going to be contributing maybe over 20% or something like that to GDP, if not more than that. He's going to strengthen our naira, because when he exports these refined products, even refined products, and he brings back the dollars, that will help the government, the economy to grow. That's what sane countries do. That's what China does. They grow their local industries to export. Here we're killing them so that they cannot export.
But what about the allegation that he also, he is notorious for cutting corners and all that, and maybe it is now coming back?
There's no businessman that is immune from those kind of accusations. Okay. But if you cut corners to the benefit of your country largely, let's take a look at the experience of arguably the most prominent oil magnate in the world, John D. Rockefeller. Okay. At the turn of the last century, he had 90% of the oil industry in America. It got to a point whereby even the government of America, under the regime of President Theodore Roosevelt, had to break those companies that it was, because he had the whole thing under him. And then they broke the monopoly, the Standard Oil, which he owned. They broke the monopoly, and even at the end of the day, even the ones that they broke down ended up being bigger than even the original Standard Oil, like Exxon.
But they did that in good faith, right?
In good faith, because they wanted competition.
They gave him desired support.
Yes,
in his initial
accepted
days.
it. At the end of the day, accepted it, and he ended up, even the entities, the little entities that were formed from that breaking up, like Mobil, Esso, which became Exxon, Texaco, Gulf, and the rest of them, became bigger than even the original Standard Oil, and it helped the American industry, because with that they domesticated American oil and gas, and at the end of the day, America benefited from it. When it helped the emergence of the automobile industry, of the airline industry, of the train industry, which helped expand the economics of America. Now, somebody of this nature has come out with that. Now, you could look at it and say, okay, look, let's do this. At the end of the day, NNPC said it took 20% of...
but about 10 days ago, he said they were only able to pay for 7.2%.
Yes.
Of that.
So now he's left with the decision to actually,
to divest
and possibly bring it down to maybe 40% or thereabouts, or 50%. And the people who have manufactured or machinated this would now be the ones to go and buy through proxies, because that's what they wanted, because they don't want this project to get off. Yeah. And they want to make sure that we continue to import crude oil, so that they can gain from it. The round tripping and all
engineer, that. Another claim by the Nigeria midstream CEO is that Dangote is striving to have monopoly in the oil sector. Now, this brings me to the question: do you think Kaduna, Wari, and Port Harcourt refineries, if they come, will they even come on board?
That's what question I want to ask you.
Okay, will they come on board?
Because they don't want
to have as rivals to the Dangote refinery.
They have no confidence in themselves because they know that they have been telling Nigerians lies all along, and they now see somebody who is serious, who will deliver on whatever he says he's going to do, and that will, destroy their markets, of stealing from Nigeria.
So they truly know that very unlikely for Port Harcourt to come on stream.
Well, let's wait. They say July, isn't it?
No, they said December.
Okay, it's now December again. Okay, so
we're even losing count of the timeline.
December is here now. It's already here. But I bet you, if you have, I bet you that by December they will tell you something else.
But then also there's another factor that has not been considered.
Okay. Yes.
The 4 refineries have not been working.
Yeah.
But a survey by I think one of the Nigerian papers said that even at that we're paying
salaries,
billions.
Yes.
In terms of salary to people who are not working, who are working at refineries that are not working.
They're at home in the comfort of their rooms.
Yeah, or sitting down somewhere and then doing their consultancy.
But do you foresee the refineries coming on board?
Look, the approach, it can come on board if we're really serious. But the approach towards making them come on board is not what's going to happen.
It is not.
Because at the end of the day, look, some of these refineries have even gone. They have lost even the technology that they had. For instance, there's a rule in the oil and gas industry that after some time, some of the refineries have to be retooled. You have to change some of the systems, like the catalytic, the central catalytic you had to change it. And then there's new technology in terms of oil refinery now. For instance, in LNG, the first thing was water cooled. The next trains use air cooled, So some of these things, you have to do them. And if you had been doing real turnaround maintenance, not this one that we're doing, you could continue to keep track of changes in the oil and gas industry and in the machines that are needed to run the refineries. But now, some of these refineries are just as useless as you can think of. They have to be mothballed. In fact, they would not be able to produce refined products at the state they are. Some of them you need to just scrap the whole damn thing. I'm saying that's the truth. Because they would not be able to produce anything.
But now with the problem at hand, are there options for Dangote for survival?
Well, unfortunately, I'm sure there are options, but I wouldn't like that option to happen. It's like that, like he says, government can buying out.
Yes.
But that would be the tragedy of the century against the interests of the people of this country, because nothing government touches work. And show me one that has worked. And again, to worsen the situation is the PIA. And like I've always said, and I'll repeat it here again, PIA is the biggest swindle against of the century against people of this country. Because and then Agbakoba repeated the same thing, said we should throw away that piece of legislation, and then because why? PIA came to open up that industry. It made it more opaque than it was. It closed now more than before, than what it used to be. That is why you are having this problem. They never anticipated that somebody like Dangote will come up and then destroy what they had legislated that nobody can come into, because that's what it was.
He has broken the barrier.
Exactly.
All right. Let me have your final take also. Are there options for him? What can he do in the interim to remain affluent? Because he's distraught already. If you look at
I think the truth about it is that he has been cornered by the cabal, and they are the ones behind some of what is happening. But the local cabal and the IOCs. Let's face it. That's the reality of it. So what they want, and which they have cornered him to, is to now sell off some of his stake there. And the real reason why they want it is not because they want to make the refinery efficient, but they want to continue to stop him from operating that refinery, and also to continue to import oil.
Yeah.
He said NPC should buy it. Should he? Is that from the bottom of his heart, or you think it's just out of pressure?
I mean, he has seen the handwriting on the wall. If he continues, I mean, the whole thing is about Dangote and Dangote alone. And unfortunately for him, he has a monopoly. They would not want him to have that monopoly. And they want to take that monopoly, or rather, from him, so that they can, cut his hands and then ensure that, they do what they want to do, which is to continue to import oil and then not allow the refinery to come.
We're rounding up. Let me take it last before you, engineer.
Okay.
What is your call to President Tinubu? Because you have mentioned him severally in this conversation.
Well, the President Tinubu should actually go back to the drawing board, look at it, and say, look, hey, we've gone this far. Even if we are going to restrict Dangote, we should keep track with the reason why we have to supply oil. Because at the end of the day, you have removed subsidies, you have not produced, you have not given us a program where you're going to make the oil and gas industry sufficient. So somebody who has tried to do it, he has been roasted, so to speak. Oh. So you could now come in and say, look, hey guys, okay, go ahead, NNPC, do it.
All right, just we have run out of time.
Yeah.
A word for Tinubu.
Well, Tinubu should understand that, I'm sure he knows, that most of the people in NNPC have investments in refineries outside. So the saying that monopoly, Dangote is coming to be monopolistic, is to take away the business from them. Meaning that the importation of crude oil, of refined products, which they own, most of them have shares in those refineries, that are outside. So that's why they don't want Dangote refinery to now refine and sell to us. And Tinubu he swore by Quran that he's going to protect the interests of this country.
He should protect his business.
He should protect this country.
Thank you very much, Engineer Yabagi Sani. You have worked at Administrative Office in the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, National Chairman of ADP. We thank you for coming to the program. And Iliyasu Gadu, former Senior Public Affairs Officer of the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNGA. Thank you for coming to the program.
My pleasure.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics, airing every weekday, and our special package on Friday, during which we open the telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Thank you for being with us. Bye-bye for now. I am Hamza Idris.